2 weeks ago, we left for the wintering grounds on a morning not dissimilar from right now. Here I am again, shoveling, getting ready to make this edit, and that really just solidifies to me what's so awesome about the wintering grounds. I don't think there's any reason to just make a recap and show you us surfing endlessly, but it's super fun. What you really probably want to know is just the basic beta so you can actually go and enjoy it yourself. So that's what this video is going to be. It is going to be a out-of-towners guide to Columbus and the wintering grounds. If you need more information, call Whitewater Express, but hopefully a really good starting point. So let's jump to it and look at town. So let's start with the basics. Columbus is located outside of Atlanta. So if you are traveling or flying, that gives you a nice sense of where it is. You could fly to Atlanta and get a ride in, or from wherever you are, you could drive in. The Katahuchi River is making the border here of Alabama and Georgia. It's starting up around here, coming down through LaGrange, and then winding up in Columbus. The actual section in Columbus that you're going to be paddling is really quite small. From this little footbridge here down to this bridge here is really 90% of what you're probably going to be doing. The total run only starts a little ways upstream here at the North Highlands Dam. So we take a look at that in satellite. Here we go. You can see there are 4 turbine units and a large impoundment dam with a high water sluiceway right there. It's important to remember this sluiceway and the fact that there's this alternate channel at high water flows, because when you're looking at what the turbines are doing, it is not going to take that into account. Going downstream, our very first feature is Ambush. Ambush is located right next to the rafting launch ramp right here. There is parking, there are bathrooms, all sorts of stuff here for us to use and for the general public as well. So predominantly we surfed Ambush at 2 turbines because any lower, it really wasn't much going on. Any higher, and we were over at good wave. Our favorite levels for this were as Ambush was switching from 3 turbines down to 2 or 2 down to 1. That sort of flux area seemed to be a real sweet spot for the wave to be the most dynamic and fun. But generally speaking, Ambush at 2 turbines was a really fun, glassy, beginner-friendly wave. Possibly the best place to take somebody for their first couple surfs in Columbus who maybe aren't super comfortable with bigger water levels and rolling on technical eddy lines. So great place to start. It was definitely a noticeably hard place to get onto the wave at times. The surfer's left entrance goes through a weird little pocket hole. You have to not lean back and stay up on top of the boat and drop in and surf across. Leaning back tends to cause a flip or an early peel out, and it took quite a bit for some people to be able to get in there. At certain levels, there's an eddy all the way over on the surfer's right shoulder, but it tended to be super boily and push you around. So getting in there with a couple people could kind of turn into a jostling match. Generally, Ambush was a really fun warm-up, but it's definitely not the reason that you come to this area. Great place to spend some time, but the main events are all downstream. So moving away from here and going downstream, we can see that there are a couple small rapids along the way. These at low water were not very interesting, but the more water you put into them, the more fun they're going to be. And when you get up into some of the higher water levels, this trip becomes sort of just a fast, fun, big water run that's not very technical. Once you get past this first bridge, you start coming back into town and the gradient is about to pick up. So here is that footbridge, the 14th Street Bridge. The USGS gauge is located right here. You can actually find it. It's kind of cool to see. They also have a webcam mounted to the bridge somewhere over here that is looking down into the Tide Snake Rapid, which can also be fun to take a peek at if you're not sure what the river levels are. This first rapid right here, we were told it's called Tide Snake. When the river's quite low, it's actually a 15-foot or so gradient change, tight little gorgy thing. Very read and run and fun, but absolutely amazing how it vanishes at high water and the rapid just turns into a wave train. First wave can be a really good surf at high water, catch it on the fly and just enjoy. When it gets really big, there are a number of high quality surf features over on this area and hiding over in here. So Monkey's Wrench, Players Lounge, all of these features are located in the vicinity of these two bridges. Moving downstream after you run that rapid, this next one under the 13th Street Traffic Bridge can be a little bit more significant because it is where you decide what your next move is going to be. Either you are going to move to river left towards the Wave Shaper channel, or you are going to stay on the river right Alabama side and go into cut bait. We really didn't spend a whole lot of time in cut bait. It was mostly just a series of shelves feeding into one really rowdy hole down in the bottom. People were playing around, enjoying getting smashed around in there, but once we saw somebody get a black eye, basically all interest sort of went away for us. The main event is over on river left on the Georgia side. Now, the top of this shelf you can see right here is where the Army Corps of Engineers blasted out the old Eagle Cotton Dam. Directly below it here along the powerhouse is where the man-made features are making these waves. I should also mention that ambush was a man-made feature. So either run straight in and go down the rapid or catch the eddy all the way up top. But either way, this is a super fun little rapid to bang down. If you are going to go down, be extremely careful to make sure that no one is on the wave already. If you go down and hit someone on the wave, odds are you might be okay, but you can do extreme damage to the other person, including knocking teeth out and breaking ribs. If you've never been to a play spot before, it is very important you understand that the person with the right of way is the person on the wave, and you should never drop in on somebody for any reason. At the bottom of the Wave Shaper channel, you will find Good Wave. Good Wave is a feature that you probably came to paddle. It is awesome at 7,500 CFS and above, and you'll find that it can be very dynamic and change a lot from ride to ride if you get there as the water levels are changing. The reason for that is the enormous pool directly below the features. As the water level changes in the pond by feet after feet, the wave itself is going to be changing in its height and its shape and its power. So you'll find the foam pile goes from extremely rowdy, tossing you around, giving you really big tricks, to an absolute gentle, easy carpet ride. So if you're looking for a really easy mellow surf, let the wave come in fully, go on a day where it's going to be the same all day. If you're looking for something a little more wild, go right as the water is coming up, and it will definitely deliver some more dynamic and spicy rides. Catching good wave can be a bit of a project. There are two basic ways to go about it. The one that most people are immediately comfortable with is to carry up into a setup eddy above the feature, peel out, and then drop on. While this is a relatively simple looking process, it does have a couple drawbacks. Without a really powerful peel out, you will not catch the wave. And part of that also turns into, once you do peel out, it's very common for the boiling water to grab an edge and kind of swirl you around as you're trying to catch the wave. The better way to catch the wave is to learn how to use the rock slide into the setup eddy that you'll see most of the locals doing. This, for whatever reason, looks very intimidating and people tend to shy away from it, but is absolutely the right move when it comes to getting onto the wave. Set up, slide in, spin the boat as you're dropping in, and power yourself up the eddy and onto the shoulder of the wave. Don't hesitate or you'll tend to miss it. Don't peel out early or you'll definitely miss it. But once you get this figured out, it really isn't as bad as people seem to think it is. At higher flows, this move isn't even necessary because you can paddle all the way up into that eddy and just peel onto the wave. There's a rock just downstream that at some flows you're able to pull yourself up and over and into that eddy. This rock's going to be blasted away in this near future. So if you don't see it, you should be able to paddle right up into the eddy and take off. The area directly surrounding the park is actively being developed into a really cool area. So predominantly this is happening right now on the Georgia side. Just looking on Google Earth, you can see that there are tons of brand new hotels going up in new buildings and in restored old factory buildings. The Riverwalk Park goes all the way from the put-in to the takeout and far beyond downstream. And the blocks going in from the Georgia side of the river quickly turns into a nightlife center full of bars, axe throwing, sushi, you name it, it's there. So anything that you could want to do with your family, with your girlfriend, off the river to rest, it's all in that area. And then from there, if you needed something from a big box store, a grocery store, anything like that, it's further into Columbus. To that end, just downstream of the features, you'll find Whitewater Express. Whitewater Express is the local rafting company. They have an awesome gear shop full of everything that you should need. They teach classes and they do rentals, community panels, all sorts of stuff. If you are going to Columbus, you should stop by. If you have a reason to give them business, you should do it. And that's because they are also the people that make the wintering grounds possible. So while they have this store, which is located on the Georgia side, across the river and upstream, they have this location. This location is tagged on Google Maps as Whitewater, Alabama. You'll find it right next to the Piggly Wiggly, I kid you not, in Phoenix City, Alabama. Right where my cursor is, this is their storefront. That, I think, is Stephen Wright's truck. And this whole area here is the empty field where they allow people coming from around the country, around the globe, to camp for free and get to enjoy the area. Now, I want to qualify when I say camp. You do not want to be in a tent in this neighborhood. We were all sleeping in vans and other vehicles, and then people who did not have that ability were either finding places to crash elsewhere or getting a hotel nearby. Depending on the generosity of Whitewater Express, they may give you a spot to crash inside in the Alabama store, but especially if you know there's going to be a crowd on site, you should come prepared with a place for yourself. Whitewater Express has been amazing about making sure that paddlers have access to bathrooms and showers and things like that. So please, if you're staying here, make sure that you give them any business that you have to give, and at the absolute bare minimum, that you keep the place clean, tidy, and litter-free. Once you make it to the wintering grounds, you really don't need a car to paddle. The perfect mode of transportation around here to just zip about would be a one-wheel. Most of the time, what we would do is walk across the street in front of the hotel, and once you pass a manhole cover on the Riverwalk, there is a trail that goes down to the river. Keep your feet high. There are a bunch of vines to trip over, especially at night. It can be a little bit of a hazard. From there, you're right above tide stake and you can paddle right down. At night, you can make it the whole way down and paddle everything just because there are lights absolutely everywhere. Specifically, there are stadium lights directly above Goodwave that make sure that you can paddle all night if the river's up. Very important to note, though, that swimming at night presents a whole new list of challenges. This aerial photo that is on Google Docs was taken at the minimum flow of 500 CFS and shows a lot of rocks and islands, which really don't tell the story at all of what a typical session is going to look like at Good Wave. At Good Wave, everything that is not green that shows up in the photo down in this area downstream of the wave is underwater, gone. The current moving along the seawall of the Riverwalk is moving very quickly, and you are not able to climb out until you make it all the way down to this circular step feature. If you do swim, hold on to your paddle, find your boat, and get yourself basically so that you're skimming along the wall as you come along this curve, and be ready to swim really hard over an eddy line into this corner of the circular landing. That's pretty much the only way that you're going to stop. Otherwise, you're going to miss this landing, come around the backside, and find yourself taking out somewhere down below the Route 28 bridge where the current stalls out. Why would you swim in the middle of the night? Well, it's not because the feature is going to trash you. It's actually because the eddy lines and the boils below these features are relatively gnarly for people who are not used to them and can make rolling really difficult. So absolutely do not roll up if you do not have a solid roll. You will be having some really long and quite cold swims. So now that we've gone over what the features are, let's look at how the river levels work. So as I said before, there's a dam up top that dictates everything. There is a web page specifically set up by the Georgia Power Company that operates everything. It's incredibly important that you understand how this page works. I'll put a link to this down below in the description of this video. Go and find it, save it into your phone. So, most important thing that you can do is come down and switch this to the North Highlands Dam. If you don't do that, you're not looking at the right stuff. None of this is going to help you. So, for starters, figure out where the current turbine release is, which is 12,400 CFS, and then where the tentative schedule is, which is directly below. Very important you understand how this schedule works. So this schedule happens to be very simple. On the 9th, starting at 12, it's going to be pegged at 4 units. And then on the 10th, starting at 12, it's going to be pegged at 4 units. What does that mean? Right now, they are going to have this set at 4 units, which is quite a lot of flow for the foreseeable future. Now, in some cases, it's going to change all over the place during the day. The reason that this is pegged at a steady flow for at least 2 days is they're in high water and the dam is maxed out. Let's go look at the USGS gauge that I said was mounted on that bridge. Over here, this is when we were still in Georgia. So you can see that in a single day, they were cycling the dam all the way down and then up and then down and up and down. So in that case, that table over here is going to have numerous times during the day where it's going to switch to a certain unit flow. To decode what that unit flow is, you would come up here where it says 1 unit, 800 to 1,000, 2 units, 5,000, 8,000, and so on. Important note is this 4 units flows, which goes from 12 to 13, right? Right now, it says that they are putting 12.5 out of the dam, but our USGS reading is 15,000. That's because of that overflow. So right now, what you would look at is the schedule to know that they are anticipating being stuck at 4 units for the foreseeable future, but the actual flow that you would see in the river is going to be that USGS current reading. Very important that you use both of these pages and understand what both of them are telling you to actually get the most out of your day and be able to plan ahead of time and anticipate what the river is going to do. Understand that the hydro dam is working on flows given to them by a Army Corps of Engineers dam above them, and they are using that flow to make as much power as they can. Well, not really as much power, as much money as they can, right? So by peaking at peak hours, which are the evenings and the mornings, they make a couple extra bucks. That means that very often, if you are in a 2 to 3 turbine zone, it'll be 2 turbines, which would be like ambush during the middle of the day, and 3 turbines, which would be good wave, in the morning and in the evening. Because of that, you have to just get comfortable surfing good wave in the dark, because that's just the reality of the situation. So that's about it. You know, unfortunately, about 3 years ago, we lost the White Nile and the Nile Special, and there really aren't a lot of wintertime warm water opportunities to get out and paddle big waves. This is not Nile Special, but it's still a super special place. And with additional upgrades expected from the Worlds coming in a couple of years, there are going to be high quality features to paddle at every water level, including when the dam is not making power. Yes, there is an additional feature that is going to go in somewhere in town that works at minimum flow, which right now, if you're there at minimum flow, there's really nothing to do other than squirt boat. So if you're coming to town, make sure that you bring an actual playboat. Make sure that you say hi at Whitewater Express, understand their expectations for you enjoying the wintering grounds, and be a good steward. The city has really gone above and beyond to build something around this park. So don't be there being obnoxious, drinking beers openly, doing things to make us look bad. Repay the investment that they put into us. I think that's it, guys. Have a good one.